Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 699, The Road to 700 continues. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the master of speculation, the duke of the sultan of strategy, the bridge defying. He remains the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
On this episode, we are going to be talking about the We Are Legends books, City Boy and the Vigil. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service at InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have a couple really cool stuff going on with the uncovered one-shot galleries of the various covers. They have that for Catwoman covers and for Poison Ivy covers for these past two series they've been running. Both of them are 40% off, only $3.59. And we have Penguin issue number 0, which collects the Chip Zdarsky Batman stories of the Penguin. Nice. And then there's Penguin number 1, which is a new story by Tom King, which continues from the Chip Zdarsky story. So both of those are also 40%, only $3.59. Thank you, DCBS.
I've been liking the direction of Penguin, so that has me really interested. Over at InStockTrades.com, we have the deals of the week. We have Batman Beyond the White Knight hardcover, $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. I'm loving this Sean Murphy stuff, so please keep it coming. Superman Camelot Falls, the deluxe edition hardcovers, $39.99 regularly, 50% off, only $19.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
Our first discussion's on City Boy, issue number 1. The writer is Greg Pak, with art by Mink-Yu Jung. Colors by Sunny Go, letters by Wes Abbott, cover by Jung Go, variant cover by Inyuk Lee, with 125 variant cover by Mike Choi. The variant cover is by Jung. The AAPI month variant cover is Alexander Tefenke. The editor is Jessica Chen. Group editor is Ben Abernathy, and City Boy was created by Greg Pak with Mink-Yu Jung. And, of course, apologies to name butchering. And I actually wanted to try to pronounce everybody's name and not just spell them out. And I don't know how I did.
It's an interesting book to talk about because this is part of that Dawn of DC We Are Legends line, which I love this. This is exactly what I was hoping would continue on at DC. It's new characters, new concepts, things like that. I want a mix. I want those tried and true characters to have reimagined books and move their stories forward and all that. And I want this type of thing. This is really cool because it touches on something you and I have over the years talked about a lot. There are certain DC cities, Gotham in particular, that have kind of a life of their own, metropolis, I think you can say it with, where there's settings and locations, and it is the Batman world as well, with Bloodhaven, and everybody's got like these little towns that, or larger cities, that have personality, and they seem to be a character in the story. In City Boy, boy, does that kick that to a whole new level, because he's actually connecting with that character that's a part of the story. And that's what his power is. It's to really touch the city, to be connected to it, to draw power from it. And it's an interesting sort of concept. I really liked, I walked in kind of blind, not really knowing much other than preview stuff that we've seen or the initial stuff that we saw. I really liked the premise of this story.
Oh, definitely. And again, it's a new and unique power. Stormwatch had the one guy who was connected with the city, who could pull energy from it, but it does end up turning into more of a traditional superhero where it gives him strength and invulnerability and that kind of stuff. This is more of a connection to, just the essence of that city, and he finds things, and he's able to, have that, interconnection. And then later on, we see he does get some energy from it. It's not just about, he can find a lost iPad, or he can find a little money buried underneath the ground, and he can find the little secrets of the city. No, he actually has some powers based off of that. And that was something I really enjoyed seeing, because, going throughout it, I'm like, throughout the initial read, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is kind of neat. This is kind of cool. Kind of a unique power, kind of nice to see, curious to see how he rolls. And then at the end there, when you see, oh no, he's got some fight to him too. I'm like, that was like, oh, that's even cooler. And then you get to the very end where you get this nice swerve where we kind of see another connection of his power. So this story did a great job in issue 1, giving us, some base information, then building on the base, then building on the base, and then dropping the hammer right at the end, getting you going, oh, now I've got to read issue 2. So 1 issue in, I'm already connected to this character. 1 issue in, I want issue 2. So it's, this 100% exactly what you want from a brand new character, a brand new power set, and, something just not, what we're used to. And I like that.
Cameron's an interesting character. I like that we get like his backstory and the fact that he was abandoned by his mom. And I saw that coming too, where he's like, he's chasing after her. And I'm like, oh no, this poor kid. I knew this is where I kind of felt this is where it was going, but the way that they delivered it was really strong. That was something that really worked for me. When he meets the homeless guy, and there's this opportunity, you see the piece where, we're talking about earlier, that his powers aren't just finding things, but boy, the city does talk to him, and he's able to find some good stuff, like cash. Yeah. And it's interesting to see his perspective, though, when he goes, I got no idea what you're talking about. And you see him looking at a map of the city in his mind, like this kind of digital sort of representation with the dots, like, pointing him to things that he's looking at. He's able to find money and shares it. And I really liked how he did that. He shared it with the guy. You got to kind of see who he is. But also, Boss Chung, when you got to see him. And Boss Chung, you saw City Boy when Cameron first looked at him. Like, the city was reacting to that guy? Is that how you took that? Where there is...
It's part of his ability as well, because he's seeing the concealed weapons of the guy.
Right.
And he's seeing the energy. He's like, okay, this is not a person. And that's why he's like, I got to go. He recognizes, okay, this is somebody you don't want to be around. And especially if this guy has any suspicions of him, which the guy did have. So, Cameron's, he's a street rat. He's a survivor, and, he knows the hustle. So he's like, I got to stay away from him. But also it is part of his abilities are telling him, stay away from this guy.
Yeah. It was something that really, really stood out, and I appreciated it. I loved the use of the way lettering worked and coloring worked as far as the texts. We've got different languages going on here, and the Korean piece was well handled. I liked how they did that particular piece. When he's walking away from him, Cameron's really upset, and I liked that his emotions seemed to cause reactions of the city, because we're dealing with cinder block or brick wall, whatever that was, and you see that his just touching it causes that crack, and I was intrigued by the way they laid out his power set, versus this quick this detailed explanation. Things were done in pieces organically in the story, and I'm always more of a fan of that. Because he could have revealed more. He's like, I could tear this street wide open, but instead I'm hiding, running from these clowns. And you get the idea that he knows he is capable of way more than he's showcasing. And that part was really, really cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that was a really neat usage of, again, on the one art page, you see the physical bricks breaking up. And on the other side, you see that energy look. So whether it was actually physically breaking or whether it was that, I liked how they did that. And again, the usage on artwork on this one, again, really has a nice solid, I want to say that what I would consider more the classic comic book art with that modern feel to it. So it's the art style I enjoy, a lot. So we've got a really cool look to the book. We've got it's nice accentuation of the story and the artwork, just accentuating it. Especially some of these scenes where you see that, as I said, he's a survivor. He's a street kid. He's been on his own for who knows how many years, and he knows how to survive. He knows when to back down. He knows when to flex muscle. He knows when to just play along. And I loved seeing that in him. And especially, when we get that other flashback 10 years ago when he gets his powers.
Yeah.
Because that, again, you get this introduction to the guy. Now let's go back to how he got them. And again, it's a kid who was starving,
Mm-hmm.
He was hungry. He sees a catering truck. He's like, I'm going to steal from it. And that's the idea. And it just falls apart for him.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see what that looked like with the scientists and everything, and the scariness of. I've always been I remember as a kid growing up and reading the X-Men, and Kitty Pryde was introduced, with her powers of being able to pass through solid objects, and I always wondered what if those powers gave out partway through, and he has that moment where he's kind of getting sucked into the ground. Because his powers are reacting for the first time. And I could see the terror of that. Where is this going to stop? What if? And I'm always a big one of the claustrophobia of what if you get stuck mid-floor where your head's in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those type of things. I loved that he was being pulled, through a portal that was being created there. And I kept thinking to myself, what is that going to mean for him? I liked that there was a little bit of terror to it. His reaction to it was genuine, as opposed to, oh, this is cool. No, this is a little weird and creepy. And the reaction was great.
And when his powers are, when it's first kicking in, he says that first communication with the energy that is the city.
Yep.
And he was like, I know you from the gutters, the garbage, the tunnels, the back doors, and you know me. And I love just, again, this is, as I said, this is a street kid. This is a survivor. So if the city does have an energy, this is one of the people it would know. The rich and powerful and all that, the city just simply destroys them. But this kid, it fuses with because this is somebody that it could work with. This is somebody that it could have a symbiotic relationship with. This is somebody who understands the true nature of what the city is. And I love just that notion of how this kid who had nothing gets all this power because of the rich and the greedy don't deserve it.
It's interesting to see him scavenging and using that to sell at pawn shops. And you see how that's a thing. We've also got this situation when he gets back that he's got the homeless guy living with him for right now. He did not give all of his money up. He gave it to the homeless guy. He was trying to set him up. This Chung's realizing, hey, this dude's got some serious powers. This dude is able to find things and get him some money that's on a significant level. To imagine that point where you're now all of a sudden potentially having to work for this guy. And I like that we get little flashbacks along the way of other times where he's been victimized and what it did to him. That it shows the motivating factor for, well, this can't stand. I can't have it this way. The Chung, the murder sequence and all of that, it was a really strong ending, setting up something that, what I like about this book is it's grounded. You've got villains in this that are real world style villains, right? And you've got this kid who has powers that he's trying to wrap his head around how to use them properly, also realizing that having those powers puts him in a very dangerous place because of how he's been victimized in the past because of them. You see the motivation for flying under the radar, right? And I really liked that there was so much of this book that was intriguing and new and fresh and made sense. That making sense part was something that just really stood out for me, that oh, wow, they've got a logic to this world that they're crafting here. That's always inviting when you start feeling like this is believable, even though you got crazy stuff like a kid talking to the city.
Yeah. Some of the neat stuff I loved, you knew when the bad guy killed the homeless guy. You knew for a fact, okay, that's it. He's a dead man now.
Yep.
He went too far. He thinks he's something big, and he's really an insignificant nothing in comparison to the city. And that's when, you start seeing the original scientist did the same thing. He pushed beyond what he should eat. He didn't understand what is the nature and the energy of the city. And this mob boss didn't understand the true nature of the city. And it's at the end there we actually get it. He's like talking about what makes a city, the people, living and thriving or suffering and dying. Mm-hmm. All good either way. As long as they keep coming and going, the city doesn't care. And I love just that notion that in reality, the city is neither good nor evil. It is just an ongoing energy. It is just, we push forward, suffer, thrive, happy, sad, does not matter to the city. And that, again, you see that as he's talking about this, he's flexing his muscle. First as the kid, and then you're seeing him as the adult, just taking out the mob boss. I love just that notion and that concept. We've got a hero, and they did air quotes around hero, because what is he really? He's more pure neutral than good. He's just out for himself. But along the ways, he's going to do some good. He's going to do some bad. It's kind of like he is the city. There's going to be some good that happens. There's going to be some bad that happens. This is what it's going to be. And I love that. And then, just as this
where do you, I guess here's my question.
Yeah.
I guess you did some good. You did some bad. What is the bad that he did? And I'm not,
killing people. That's the bad.
Who's been killed?
Well, the initial scientist when he was a kid, and the guards, they got ripped apart.
Well, but here's the thing. Did he do that, or was it because he was hooked up to the machine? See, I guess I didn't take that as conscious murder. He's hooked up to that machine.
Well, I took it as it was him.
Okay.
Because he says, you asked for it. And he just unleashes what the city wants. He just unleashes the power and destroys all of them. Then later on with the mob bosses, all his guys are dead.
I got it.
So... And again, he's killing bad people, so it's that whole, is he act? That's why I'm like, is he a bad guy? But again, according to the Bat and Superman, yes, he's a bad guy because he takes a life.
Where are you seeing that Chung died, though?
Okay, so the one panel, when you see the entire, the last page, the very top panel, when basically everything implodes on itself, I'm assuming they don't survive. We don't actually see the dead body of those guys, but I'm assuming, though, that kills them.
Yeah, because we're seeing the power surge. I guess I'm not sure what happened to that, because he's in there, too. Wouldn't that affect him?
Well, but the city protects him.
Okay.
Because he's the one the city chose. So that was the whole thing that the initial scientist, when he was a little kid, the city chose him. That's why he tapped it, and he tried strapping him to the device. But again, like a lot of the bad guys, they want to control him. They want to, again, they're going to tie into him, control the brain, control the power, figure, we can control this energy. No, you can't. So as a kid, he just unleashes. As an adult, he just unleashes.
They were shocking him with that machine, though. And I guess there's a difference between, like, how much of that was a combination of him, the city, and the machine. I'm not disputing you. You could be 100% correct. I guess what I'm seeing there is, did the machine have any impact on what happened there? And in this place, I guess I'm not entirely convinced that the bad guys are dead. And they could be. Wait, here's the thing. They 100% could be, and it sets the stage. I guess one of the things I'm really interested in issue 2 is, and I just want to be clear on this, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm more seeing another possibility, and I'm wondering what it is. Versus you're painting a picture of a path, and I'm looking at that path and going, okay, all right. But is that set in stone from what I'm seeing here? I'm not 100% sure. I do agree with you that in the first sequence with the machine and all that, those guys are dead. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So what I'm looking at, though, is he's screaming and there's power surges coming out. How much was the machine an impact at all? And I don't know. His emotion seems to be driving this. So when he lets loose with rage, when he, it's kind of like a weird sort of thing that happens like with the Incredible Hulk. It's almost like his anger lashing out is the city lashing out with the same anger. So there's a point to what you're saying, and he's certainly angry right now because his buddy was killed. So could that have led to the same scenario with them? I'm curious to see that in the next issue. So could very well be the case. I'm intrigued by that, though. I find the character interesting. You're right. From a role-playing sense, is this guy more neutral than anything else versus being good or bad? And I don't know. I don't know.
And I think that's one of the neat things about this guy. Because you get some classic heroes who are killers, and they're a hero. Wolverine will kill a person without batting an eye if he needs to, but he doesn't do it for fun. He does it because he needs to. Punisher, another killer without an issue, but he's a good guy. Then you get people, Slade Wilson, who's a bad guy, an assassin, a killer, but he has that code. And sometimes he dances the line of a hero. Sometimes you're like, maybe he's a good guy. Maybe there's a good guy in there. With the City Boy here, where I'm 100% like, it's like he really does not have a side. I like that. I like a pure neutral person. I think it's kind of a neat character to have because we're putting him up against Darkseid. Well, putting him up against Intergang, and Mannheim, and also Darkseid.
Yeah.
So you got some serious, solid villains he's going up against. By comparison, he's going to be the good guy, whether he really is just neutral. And by the end of this, he may shift from neutral to actually good. He may actually become a champion for this neighborhood, a defender for this city. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens. And the other thing I'm also wondering is what happens if he leaves the city.
I was just thinking that.
A new one.
Yeah. That part is intriguing. And what is that relationship like? Is the relationship different from city to city? And will some cities resist him and rebel? Yeah, I mean, I love to see him visit Gotham.
Oh God, yeah. Because Gotham itself is, we know Gotham is alive.
Intergang and Darkseid, they're bringing back some great concepts there about their relationships and what that looked like. And obviously, you can see why Darkseid would be very intrigued by this kid. This is a great first issue as far as the series goes. I'm, out of the gate series, like for me, this is issue 2 is a must read.
Yes, 100%.
I was just going to ask you that. It's kind of a nice thing about this book series is it kicked off out of the gate, and I hope it has some legs to it.
And again, as I said before, they did a great job just building on this character, building on the character. And throughout this, we kept getting more pieces of the puzzle, seeing more of him, get to know him a little bit. And then at the end, that last page, they dropped that massive bomb, letting you know, oh yeah, this story's going to have Darkseid in it. So, hold on, strap in. This is going to be a fun ride. And I was already locked in by then. But you get on that last page, you're like, oh, this kid's dealing with Darkseid. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, this really, really was a fun read out of the gate. Another winner from the Dawn of DC.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
Our next discussion is going to be of the Vigil #1. Ram V is the writer. Lalit Kumar Sharma is the artist. We've got Rain Beredo as colors. Dave Sharp on letters. Sumit Kumar on the cover. Nimit Malavia on the variant cover. Anand RK on the 125 variant cover. Sharma on the 150 Dodge character design variant cover. Pop Mahan on the AAPI Heritage Month variant cover. Ben Abernathy's the group editor. Jessica Chen is the editor. Interesting sort of series here, The Vigil. I gotta say, Ram V is a name when it comes to writing. If Ram V's on something, it's just good. At least for me, this was out of the gate something where I'm like, this is a neat team and an intriguing concept. I love this kind of espionage-y kind of story that's going here. The characters were introduced gradually, really compelling, but they drop you right away into like this big event with the ship where you know that like we're setting up something big now. This is a crew that's taken over. This reminds me of, we grew up with a lot of really cool action movies This had that kind of vibe, right? Like a Commando kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah.
Where this thing is happening, or Die Hard even, it's like they're taking over the boat. Now, who's the John McClane of the story? And I was jonesing for that. I liked that feel of this.
See, and it was funny because I was having the same kind of groove, but I'm thinking Chuck Norris and Delta Force.
Yep.
That was my mindset going on with this. And the exact same ideas you had this, that 80s action adventure. They're storming the boat. The hero team's going to come in and open up a can of whoop ass. And I was looking forward to it. And it's funny that we did do City Boy and the Vigil together, because these are two titles, again, that I think they're we didn't plan this, folks, but it just happened that these were the two we're talking. But they work so well together because it's looking at a different group for the superhero. This is going with an India based superhero team, which I'll be honest with you, it makes a lot of sense that region would have, they should have their own unit. They should have their own form of the Justice League or Suicide Squad or whichever version you want to call this team. That country should have their own entity. We've seen, the Chinese versions of the heroes. We've seen a couple of the European ones. But this is a part of the world that we never really have seen the superheroes come on. And I like that. I like the fact that they're going with that. And as you said, it's an espionage kind of story. It's a little black ops team that, that isn't public. They're not the Justice League where they're like, look at us, we are India's heroes. No, no one knows they exist. They're the covert team, and I like just that usage of it. So this was something I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I dig this. This was something that I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that part was really, really intriguing from me. I liked that when we get into Fort Mumbai and we start seeing like kind of a fleshing out of some characters. That part was really, really cool. You see the one character in the suit. You see the old guy. It's I'm retiring. Didn't you hear I'm quitting the game? It was clearly setting up. It had like a James Bond vibe almost to it. There was a lot of feels in this book that I really, really dug. Even the like pulling the folder out from underneath the bench. I mean, I love stuff like that where it was this nondescript meeting in the park, so nobody's gonna notice anything that's happening. I really, really liked how that played out.
Oh God, yeah. And even I like how this is. This is a government agency, but they're keeping it from the government. Not only are they really a black ops team, the government thinks all the experiments failed. So they're running completely under the radar of this government. And who is the actual ringleader of it? Who is the big boss behind all this? We still don't 100% know. And I like that we're getting a cool breakdown of the team. We're understanding who they are, but we still don't have all the pieces. If in issue 1 we had all the pieces, like what else is to tell? No, they're giving us they're giving us plenty of energy, plenty of action, plenty of intrigue, but you got to keep us wanting more. And it's like, it's dangling the hook right there, just keeping you going on it. And it's like with City Boy, they give us some great backstory on who the kid is, what his powers are up front, and then they, at the end, they drop the big bomb of who his villain's going to be. With this one, they're giving us information, but they're still leaving plenty of mystery out there. Both books have me reading, the next issue. I got to find out what's going to happen next. But it's for two different reasons. And I like how each book has that same level of I've got to read the next issue, but it's for different reasons. It's personalized towards the title.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you want that because if it's cookie cutter, then what's going to happen is you're not going to want to continue on with the series, or it's going to kind of get lost in the shuffle of being very samey. These books are the opposite of that. And they also feel very unique and different to the rest of the books in DC, yet they feel like they belong in this universe, which that part's really important. They've got a unique flavor, but I feel like these are happening in our DCU. And that's important. I like when he's paging through like the folder or the file, whatever you want to call it, and we're starting to see some of the team members that are going to be coming down the pike. The teases in this, the gradually guiding you through this book, I liked the pacing a lot. Yeah. Where, again, I don't know, it was what I liked about City Boy, but for different reasons. You don't need to spoon feed me everything right away. Tease me in. Get me excited. Make me want to turn the page for a little bit more as you're fishing through and clarifying how the world's reacting to this event that we just saw, which I thought was a really strong storytelling approach.
Oh, big time. Big time. And again, I just, again, to echo something I said before, I love the fact that they are operating completely under the radar.
Yeah.
They were in the, when, the one doctor's in with them, meeting with them, saying, oh, yeah, it was a complete failure. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Well, we're going to have to shut your project down. I understand. I'll be in for the briefing and all this stuff. And they're like, and after he leaves, the military people are like, genius, my butt. And they completely have no idea what just happened. They completely got played. And yes, the experiments were a success. Not 100%, but there's enough that there is an actual team. But they didn't want the government in charge of the team. Whoever's in charge of this operation, that is the person, they use the government for their resources. Now they're taking over. And I 100% just absolutely loved seeing that. Again, it was a really cool usage of, just manipulating, playing the system against itself.
I liked the Miss Saha and meetings with Dr. Sankaran. Just this kind of idea of, hey, our organization's operating here, and it doesn't matter what Lightness is saying or anybody else, they don't control things, and they can't control things. It was the nature of their missions, the importance of their missions was great. Now getting to start seeing the approach of the team on the ship, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be cool really fast. And I liked the cool factor of this. It had a coolness factor that was something I was really looking for. These characters, because of the fact that they're new, you gotta make me go, I want to be back, not just for issue 2, issue 3, issue 4. I want to get to know more and tease more out of it. Their infiltration was great, and I liked that both of them were very, very different characters, but skill sets that complement each other. Also, by the way, to your point as far as like City Boy maybe not killing and that type of thing, this one, they don't pull any punches. There's some killing going on here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. They've got a really decent body count. But again, they're killing only the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
The crew that survived, they didn't kill them. And one, they didn't need to. They're all hooded, so they have no idea what happened. All they know is eventually they're going to take the hoods off and realize all the people that took over the boat are dead. So it was, again, I really like this team. This is, what I would expect from, a covert op, from a Suicide Squad, from, I don't know any other good comparison on a team. This team should be killers. This is not the Bat Family. This is not the Justice League. These are killers. They need to be killers for what they're doing. They do dirty work, and sometimes you got to do that. And for me, again, neat usage of powers, different kind of sets. With the one who's kind of she's not Speed Force, but she is increased speed. The other guy with the covert where he's stealing people's faces. You got to okay, I'm digging this.
Sai is a great character, and I really liked the idea of the mask being more than just covering the face. It's something that digitally collects the face of the person that it's trying to mimic, and then Sai is able to adopt the identity of that person, the visual identity of that person. I like the small details of having to grab the code from that person, but I like this better than the idea that putting on the mask and all of a sudden means that he adopts the entire body look of that person. It's like, no, you're going to get the face. We got to use some other pieces to finish off the visual presentation. I really liked that. And then seeing, and I like even the sense of wonder of, he stole that guy's face.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, they're learning firsthand what exactly they've gotten themselves into.
Yep.
And that, I think, is going to be kind of a neat, their character development where they go from here. Because, the person that they're replacing, that guy's been through a lot. And that's why he's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. And he's just going to disappear like a good spy into the unknown. And that's, what this teams are. These are spies. So you either retire by being dead or you retire by disappearing. So that guy is gone. And I love seeing just this new person coming in thinking they have an understanding, and they're getting this nice wide opening experience of, what did I get myself into? Because they're even thinking this is a rescue mission for the boat. Like, oh no, it's not a rescue mission for the boat. They're after stealing something that's on the boat.
Dodge is really cool, and I like that Dodge is a kind of speedster of sorts. There's this, what do they say, it was the body condition, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Sai is the one that's born with that elastic skin issue, but Dodge has that extraordinary amount of fast twitch muscle fiber in her body, reinforced by her skeletal structure, so her body can deal with the strain. I mean, it's interesting that she's not automatically connected with the Speed Force. He doesn't, it's not like Plastic Man. Their powers are different. It was really, really cool that she's moving faster than the camera can record. That for an infiltration purpose, it's exactly the speed she needs to be able to go for that. But I'm not thinking like she's going to win a race against the Flash.
No.
But there may be a combat skill set she has that she has that the Flash doesn't have. And I thought that part was cool.
Oh, definitely. And it's like, as you said, there's elements of heroes that we maybe understand, but it's a little bit different.
Yep.
And I think that is a neat way to use these characters. Because, Plastic Man can adjust his face to look like anybody. Dodge can do it with the device, and then actually manipulates his face, so his face actually contorts to whatever it needs to be.
Right. Right.
So it's so I do like that we have this differences and distinctions on it. But again, there is some really cool stuff going on with these people, and again, I love the fact that we're dealing with a spy, we're dealing with intrigue. So this wasn't a rescue mission. This was a theft.
It's interesting, like the machine and this waveform emitter, at first glance at least. This transmitter that they're picking up is something that's really interesting. I did like how the villain, especially with the creep factor of he takes off his glasses, and it's almost like the character from the Sandman with the eyes that kind of...
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank on the character's name? It'll come to me, because I love the character on the actual Sandman show. But you know what I'm talking about.
The one who's got the mouth for eyes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But this has like a similar sort of, I don't know, something about the eyes missing or, being energy eyes or whatever. Just has this like cool creep factor to it that I really, really liked. I like that the story already had enough, and yet they set up this future encounter that is going to be really cool.
Yeah. And again, like with City Boy, the ending where it reveals a villain, here's another one where we have no idea who this is, but we got a serious creep factor going on here. And again, Rafi, who was the spy who just wanted to get away, you don't leave the game, buddy. Sorry. And tortured, killed, and who knows what else Mr. Lightless is going to do to them. I'm like, oh. Throughout this, I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. Then you flip the ending. I'm like, no idea who this is, but I want to see more of this guy.
Do they really destroy the items that they capture, do you think? Or is there like some kind of warehouse that the people don't know about?
100% warehouse.
Yeah.
To me, that kind of looks like a mother box, or some dark side, some technology from the New Gods. When you look at the device and you look at the symbol on the side of it, that to me screams New Gods.
Yeah. Yeah, I got no argument with that. I don't know what the technology is, but I'm very anxious to see what and if actually happens with the stuff that they managed to procure. Great book. So are these all 6-issue miniseries? These We Are Legends books? They seem to be.
I believe so. Yes.
I hope that these books, at least some of them, are popular enough to warrant graduating into a 12-issue or a series of miniseries. I think that they've been really, really good so far.
Oh, God, yeah. And these have really been just hitting it out of the park. These have been fun reads. These have been good reads. And these have been all stories that every time when I'm done reading, going, okay, I got to continue on with this.
Yeah.
Yes, please more. So hopefully some of these survive into longer, ongoing, or even if they go, we're going to do another season. We're going to give you another 6-issue series. Just more of this is what I'm hoping for.
I'd be happy with that. With the idea of these being season-based miniseries. If that is the direction that they're going. I feel like there's some books that are being developed now that are miniseries that could potentially be books that I really would like to see in some form of ongoing. And boy, these really were the first two that we talked to today. Or these two books happen to be right up there.
Green Lantern, let you and I destroy that space junk.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. Keep in mind, episode 700 is coming up. If you'd like to have your comments on either of the two parts of episode 700, please feel free to get them in. RagingBullets.com is the show website. It feeds Twitter. It feeds our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and thank you for curating some of the DC news for us to chat around. The About Us section of our show websites where you can find out how to connect with us on gaming platforms and through social media. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seguin, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have the Catwoman and Poison Ivy uncovered one-shot gallery of the various covers. Both of those books are 40% only, $3.59. And we have Penguin issue 0 and Penguin issue number 1, both 40% off, only $3.59. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, just a reminder that you can get Batman Beyond the White Knights hardcover, $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. And Superman Camelot Falls, the deluxe edition hardcover, $39.99 regularly, 50% off, only $19.99. I want to thank DCB Service at InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, there's going to be a slight change to this. Episode 700 is actually going to be a two-parter. We didn't plan this, but the Flash movie comes out, and we're going to do a review of the Flash movie in part 1. And on part 2, we're going to do our Batman 66 movie watch-along. And the reason why we're splitting that up is because for those watch-alongs in particular, sometimes people like to sync up, and sometimes other people like to listen to their car. We want to make it nice and easy, depending on how you want to enjoy that episode with us, to be able to get that part 2. So we will see you next week with part 1, our Flash review.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
you did it right
Jim,
there. I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.